Hey there! Today I'm going to show you what the content of my Jonson-Su bioreactor looked like after about 10 months of static composting. Now, this bioreactor has been filled up 100% with leaves. It's been about 7 months since I last posted a video on my bioreactor. By that time it had been composting for about 3 months, and I showed you how the compost was looking at that point, which was still mostly leaves. And I also talked about making a follow-up video in about 6 months, which you are currently watching right now. Now, I won't go over what a Jonson-Su bioreactor is precisely. You can actually watch that last video. I will link it at the end of this one. But for now, let's see what has changed in the meantime and how the compost is starting to look. Alright, so what has changed? Well, to be honest, not that much. In my last video, I talked about how the leaves, or whatever you're using as a medium, can sink considerably in the first few weeks or months of your bioreactor process. And by the time of my last video, it had already sunk about 30 centimeters, and it has continued to do so. By now, it has sunk an additional 20 to 30 centimeters, so it's really starting to compact. Other than that, you might be able to see the wall over here, which is part of my water catching system. This is on the south side, so it actually provides some more shade for the bioreactor, which keeps it a lot more cool during summer. Speaking of summer, it has been a beautiful summer with a lot of sun, a lot of warmth, so I had to stay on top of watering, which I did, except for the last few weeks because I was on a holiday. But other than that, I really kept the insides of the bioreactor well watered. And I also made sure that the central air column would not become blocked by falling leaves or even compost that was pushing through. All right, let's see what the compost of the bioreactor looks like after 10 months. Alright, let's first remove the upper side of the door, which has no function at the moment. And now I'm going to take you in for a closer look. So besides the fact that everything has sunk even more compared to last video, it looks relatively unchanged. There are still a lot of dry leaves on top of it. They don't really participate in the whole decomposition process. They do isolate the bioreactor a little bit, which can come in handy when the days are starting to get a little bit colder. Now, in my last video, the compost, as far as you could call it that, was still mostly wet leaves. And for reference, the end product should look like dark chocolate-like clay that when you squeeze it, it remains a ball, and you might be able to squeeze 1 or 2 droplets of moisture out of it. So let's see where we are right now. Let me dig, for example, right over here. This looks like dry leaves, but this looks more like a forest floor covering. So this is very cool to the touch. You can still see some parts of leaves in there, but it almost looks like very fluffy soil. It's it's almost like it has been sieved. Now, if I grab a bunch of this compost, you can see still some leaves over there, and I squeeze it together, this should become a clay-like ball. There's even a worm in there. Sorry that I squished you. Let's see, right over there. There's the worm, but it remains like a clay ball. If the camera focuses, I could, I'm not going to squeeze the worm even more, but I can feel that I could squeeze a droplet of moisture out of there. And if I kind of push it in the middle, it will probably break apart like that. This is already superb compost in my opinion. Now let's dig a little bit deeper, but because if I had to guess, I'd say like the total contents is about 20 centimeters, 25 centimeters deep. So if I dig a little bit deeper, let's see if anything changes. Let me take some out of here. And actually it's relatively about the same. So again, if I squeeze this, let me see if I can squeeze a droplet out of there. Yeah, there we go. See it? That's perfect. Oh, this is already beautiful stuff. So then, the big question, is this stuff usable as compost right now? Yes, I think it is. It's dark, it's fluffy, it smells like a forest floor, and it retains moisture very well. Will I be using it in the near future? I'll probably let it sit for a few more months. Why? Well, I believe in one of his studies, Dr. Jonson has stated that the amount of beneficial microorganisms inside of your compost will exponentially increase after the 9-month mark. So this compost is about 10 months old by now, which is already great in my opinion, but I'll probably be rewarded even more if I let it sit for a few more months. So for example, through the winter. In case of a harsh winter, I'll probably need to isolate it a little bit with some cardboard on top or to the side. But in my experience, this stuff isolates itself already fairly well. So not too worried about that. Now, if you're watching this video around the time of its release, it's fall or autumn right now. So if you are thinking about creating your own Jonson-Su bioreactor, then now is the perfect time to fill it up, as leaves are readily available. Now, I am thinking about sending this compost and the soil of my garden to a lab for analysis and comparison, but I still need to figure out where I can send it to. But that will maybe be a video for the future, which might actually prove to be very interesting. Alright, thank you so much for watching this video. Leave a like, and if you're interested what a Jonson-Su bioreactor actually is and how I filled up mine, then you can watch that video right over there.